Hey, welcome to the Open Tabs podcast. My name is Joe.
I'm Billy.
And it is another Monday night podcast. We're excited to be with you guys. And today, this Monday, I've got an open tab in my head, Billy. I'll tell you, I have felt like I have been getting my social feed filled with spicy, I call them spicy police departments.
Spicy. What makes them so
can sound
spicy?
bad. That can sound bad. I don't mean it that way. No, I've found, especially in our area, there's some police departments that are on top of their social media game for sure. Very entertaining, very fun. I'm a little sad. Our sheriff's department used to be really, really funny. And then the sheriff that we had didn't run again, and then a new sheriff came in town who's a great sheriff. He's awesome, but he's definitely more serious than the last one. And so now it's a very serious tone, like informational only. Whereas before, they used to have this post on holidays where they'd be like, hey, if you're looking for a nice place to stay or a room for the night, go ahead and drive inebriated, and we'll make sure that we get you a nice pair of matching shiny bracelets and bring you into our wonderful suite or whatever, but now they don't do stuff like that. But never fear.
Ooh.
There are police departments that do these funny things, and I have been there's actually one. It's funny. I'm gonna share my screen here, and I'm gonna show you. All right, this is how I feel. So the city of Snellville, this is adjacent to me. This is the city we grew up in, Billy. Well, I mean, sort of. You lived in Snellville for quite some time. I lived in Snellville for some time. And this commenter really, number one commenter definitely put it the same way that I've been feeling. The number of police departments I follow now is becoming somewhat unreasonable. But you can see here, Snellville's calling out South Fulton, Paulding County Sheriff's Department, Statesboro, Morrow, and then Lawrenceville Police Department. So I haven't seen a lot of these. I've only seen Lawrenceville's. I'm going to show you an example of theirs here in a second. But just really, Snellville probably takes the cake as far as I'm concerned locally, as far as just having a really fun, lighthearted. And in fact, this is what they did for St. Patty's Day. This is a post about St. Patty's Day. So they made one of these memes here. Eat Lucky Charms, not DUI charges. So they're always doing fun stuff. And I got to hand it to Snellville. They're really good at community policing too. When we lived in Snellville, when my kids were really little, and they used to come out on Halloween and drive through the neighborhood, and they would hand out candy, little fun bags to the kids that were dressed up for Halloween. And they just come out and say hi and hang around. And it was cool because it deterred the teenagers from being stupid, and it, just gave the kids all, feel like they safe and they could connect with the police, which is really cool.
I like that.
This is Lawrenceville. So Lawrenceville is also funny. I like the way that Lawrenceville is funny because they're not always trying to come up with something funny, but when they come across something that is funny, they're really good at putting it out there. So just the idea of taking the Donut Festival and calling it a law enforcement related event. I mean, this is classic self-deprecating humor. So I don't know. It's just been on my mind. I've been thinking about it a lot. There's actually a lot now of influencers who are both funny and also I don't know what the word is, but sincere in being helpful to people and just entertaining. I don't know, this world of it's DIY cops movies, but where the cop is the main character and they're generally a pretty nice person. And I actually have enjoyed it. I think it does a really good job of humanizing humanizing the police. And I think we need more of that in our society. I don't know. I'm not trying to get on a soapbox, but I think it's important to remember that police officers have this crazy responsibility, but they're also humans and they like to laugh. They like to joke and they're fun people. You know what I mean?
Yep. And here's to go along with that. The vast majority of citizens don't have any dealings with the police, with the exception of your occasional traffic stop. And
Yeah.
on a traffic stop, even if it goes smoothly, most people aren't real happy to have that encounter, even if it's a smooth encounter. So to have some other interaction with the police, where it doesn't have to be under pressure or on a stressful situation, and it's something positive. And in the bonus that you can stay up to date with what's going on. Maybe they have a special message, even if it's just drive safe on the holiday weekend or what have you. That's awesome. That's something. That's one of those the perks of social media compared to way back when how else would they communicate with you?
Right.
On something that wasn't some major thing that made the evening news. So I like that a lot.
Yeah. I think I like that too. I also think that, at least in my experience, having been pulled over a fairly, I don't know. What I don't know. Is once a year like an okay number of times to be pulled over? Is
I
that
mean,
too
it's all
much?
relative, man. It's all
Because like my wife has
my
never been
sister,
pulled
shout out
over.
to my sister, gets pulled over every day, and I mean it. I mean
Oh,
every day,
yeah.
5
So
times a week.
I don't think my wife has ever been pulled over, but I've been pulled over. I would say my average is probably once a year, that I get the tag. Generally speaking, I find that the police are really nice. Uh, I've had it is once a year. Gosh, Billy, that does seem like a lot now I think about it.
I s
Um,
I mean, what's a
but
lot? I don't know.
just recently, Georgia State, GSP, Georgia State Police pulled me over because I was mistaken on what the speed limit was on a road I travel very frequently. I thought it was 65 and it was apparently 55, and I was going 72, which is neither of those speeds, but that's neither here nor there. But very, very kind guy, really nice. He actually looked over and saw my kids were in the car with me and they were dressed for hockey. And he goes, "Hey, are you guys going to play hockey?" And just real nice. And he was like, I'm just gonna run your plate and I'll be back." And he just let me off with a warning. More often than not, even though I've gotten pulled over a lot, I've probably only had a ticket 3 times in my life. And
That's not bad. That's
I
not
think a
bad.
lot of that goes to the, like, how are you acting? You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like, I even so again, I don't want to make this about anything other than just humanity, but I realized in 2001 after 9/11 that having the descent that I have did make it a little bit more of a thing when you were interacting with the police. And so I was always pretty mindful at airports. I was always pretty mindful, at police checkpoints and things like that, just to be careful, to be respectful, to answer questions, you know, well and concisely without dodging the question or looking like. I think it's important. I think it's important that you're clear with a police officer because they can read that on your if you're trying to hide something, they're going to know. And so that's part of it is I feel like even when I've been pulled over, generally I know it's because I've done something I wasn't supposed to be doing, right? And anymore, it's not like this thing where they're like, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" They never ask you that. They always just tell you, "Hey, I pulled you over because you were doing 72 and a 55,"
sure.
right? But generally speaking, I think I don't know, man. If you're nice to people and you're nice to the police and you aren't a criminal and you don't have warrants, like generally speaking, I don't think you have anything to worry about. Just be kind, man. All of this, like, I
Yeah.
refuse to answer questions. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. Like, I get it. There's probably situations where you want to be mindful of what you say. I get it. But like
Mhm.
generally speaking, like if you're a generally nice person who's not, doing something you shouldn't be doing, why give them a hard time? Why give them a
Yeah.
reason? You know what I mean? And so I've always been really, really kind. I'm always careful. I'm always really communicative. Like, if I need to get something out of my center console, like my wallet, or I need to reach for my wallet, I always say, "Hey, I'm going to grab my wallet. It's in my back pocket." Or I'm going to grab my insurance card. It's in my glove box, but I'll open the glove box so you can look at it first.
Sure.
Like, just obviously be smart about it. Like, because I think this is a life lesson in general, right? I think that, and I didn't know this is where this is going, but I think that in general, we don't spend enough time thinking about things from the other person's perspective.
100%.
And if you thought for 2 seconds about what that police officer is walking into, they may think they know what they're walking into, but they may not be walking into what they think they're walking into. They could have crazy, weird experiences, regardless of the kind of person in the car, the kind of car it is, all of those things. They have no idea what they're getting themselves into when they pull you over. And all they know is the body language that you exude, the way that you're acting. And that's all the information they have as to whether or not this is going to be a safe stop or not. And let's be clear, these people have families. You know, these men and women have families and they want to go home to them. Their kids want them home. Their wives want them home. Their husbands want them home, whoever. They have people who love them at home. And they're in a situation where they have to do something very uncomfortable, very dangerous a lot of times. And they don't know what they're going to get. And so I think you think of it from that perspective. If I were to walk up to a car that I just pulled over, I don't know what this person is going to be like. And then they start acting like they hate me or acting like I'm trying to do something I shouldn't be doing, or they're filming me, or they're telling me, you know, they have rights or they're a sovereign citizen. Like, what am I going to do? You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
going to be on edge. And so I think that's kind of I don't know. I didn't mean to go there with this. It's got a little weird, but I think that it's nice to have what's the alternative? The alternative is no police, and that scares the crap out of me. And so I just think,
Or being terrified of them, or
yeah,
having every interaction be a negative, one that's escalating, and coming to fear them or hate them or both.
and
That's the
and
alternative.
I will say, in the times that I've been pulled over, the only time where I've had 2 times where I would say they were not positive interactions. One time was a not positive interaction because they were told that I was speeding through a construction zone in Tennessee in the backcountry, and there was no signs, there's no indication that it was a construction zone, and I wasn't speeding, but I was going faster than, like, in a construction zone, I guess in Tennessee. I don't know. You're supposed to slow down a certain amount. But I was just going, and there was no sign saying there was construction. There were some yellow barrels off to the side every now and again. So I got pulled over, and he said I was speeding in a construction zone. I was like, I had no idea it was a construction zone. He goes, you didn't see all the barrels on the road? And I'm like, you mean those 2 barrels over there? No, I didn't see those. I mean, I saw them. I didn't know those indicated this was a construction zone.
Usually
There's
that would
no
be a sign
construction.
saying now entering construction
Yeah.
zone.
There's no
Hello.
construction. So what do you want? So that was one that was kind of negative. I could see that he just was not having it, whatever. The other one that could have been potentially negative. This is right after the cell phone law got put into effect in California, and they were pulling people over for talking on their cell phones, holding their cell phones. And so I can't believe I'm about to admit this. I was talking to myself in the car, and I was sitting with my hand kind of like this. And I don't remember what I was doing. I don't know if I was talking to myself or I was like, maybe I was singing with the radio. Let's say that so it doesn't sound as bad. But I had my hand like this. I was singing with the radio, and I'm driving, you know, in my car, and the CHP
Because
pulls
this
me
is
over.
how we all sing.
Yeah, I'm in traffic on the 405 North, so you know this is how you sit. So I'm sitting there. I see the lights. I'm like, what is going on right now? So I pull over. CHP comes up, and he says, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" And I said, "Honestly, sir, I have no idea why you pulled me over." He said, "Well, you were talking on your cell phone." And I said, "Sir, I can promise you I was not talking on my cell phone." And he's like, "Where's your cell phone right now?" And I said, it is plugged into my tape deck. It's in the center console. This is back then when you could plug your phone into your tape deck, and it's in the center console. I was not talking on it, I promise. I'll let you look at it. He goes, "Okay, well, let me see your ID." So at this point, I had a motorcycle permit that had been issued to me by the DMV, and they had punched a hole in my driver's license when they issued me the motorcycle permit. Apparently, that act, the way that DMV employee did it, invalidated my driver's license and meant that I could only drive a motorcycle between the daylight hours. So I was
Oh,
driving a
wow.
car without a license, without a valid license at the time. So I hand him my permit. He goes, "Well, where's your driver's license?" I was like, "Well, here it is. It's got a hole in it now." And he goes, "Why?" And I was like, "Well, they gave me the permit. They put a hole in my driver's license." And he said, "Well, now you're driving without a driver's license." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. I did what the DMV people told me." Anyway, long story short, um, it could have gone very poorly, but I tried to stay really calm and I said, "I'm so sorry. I just didn't know. I can promise you I wasn't talking on the phone. You can look at my phone. You can see there's no calls, there's no text messages. I didn't want to touch my phone." So he goes back, he runs my license, he runs my number. I think my license came up as valid in the system. So he comes back and he goes, "You know what? I didn't notice that you had a goatee when I first saw you to pull you over. And now that I'm seeing you have a goatee, I can see how because your hand was by your face, I could have misinterpreted that as a phone." He
That's very
said,
honest. Very
and
honest of him.
I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah." And he's like, "So I'm not going to cite you for the cell phone thing." And he said, "But you do need to go to the DMV today to take care of this license situation. And I'm not going to cite you for that either because you were upfront with me. And I believe you thought that
Right.
I believe you thought you were fine, but you need to go to the DMV and get it taken care of right now." And I said, "Yes, sir. As soon as I get to work, I will tell my boss and I will try and get it to the DMV as soon as possible." And so he was really kind. He said, "Okay, I appreciate you being patient. I'll let you go." And I mean, that was the worst that I've ever had, like the most potentially bad interaction I've ever had. And again, I think if you're just honest and kind, they're going to be honest and kind. They don't want to take you to jail. They don't want the paperwork of you. You know what I mean? They don't want any of that stuff. They're not. But
Yeah,
I have been told time and time again, the police are not compensated or quoted for actually ticketing speeders. They
that's right.
do need to pull people over who are breaking the law, and there is a time and place for that, but they don't get like some sort of reward for
Right.
issuing tickets, or citations. So I think it's important to know that they're on our side. They're just trying to keep people safe, and
This
generally, if you're nice, they're nice.
this is one of those this is particularly close to my heart, this whole subject, because there are so many people, young and old, that I've seen online that have no clue how to handle themselves, in particular on a traffic stop. And I
Mm.
don't know if it's because no one taught them or they've read it and forgot. I don't know what the reasons are, but it's so important. And I don't know if they teach this in driver's ed or if they teach this in school at all now. They didn't when I was growing up, but this is so important. This could be, I mean, I guess you could say it's life and death, but more likely it is a story like you just shared versus escalating and whatever else. And it is true that the most dangerous type of calls for a police officer are traffic stops and domestic violence or arguments and so forth at a household, a domestic violent call. Because they don't know what they're walking into, and people are volatile and whatever else. And so not too long ago, a few years back, I was with my nephew, and I think he was probably 13 at the time, and he grew up where every police interaction, every traffic stop was a negative one. Even if
Mhm.
nothing came of it, before the cop even had a time to get out of the car, whoever is in the car with him is going, "Oh God, oh God, oh God, here we go, da, 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 da." Just stressful and terrible. This is what he grew up around. He knew no other way, and so
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
I took him for a little mini uncle nephew trip, whatever, for a few days in Gatlinburg, and I
Mhm.
got pulled over for speeding, and I intentionally, because I'm with my nephew and he's 13, this might be the first time he's ever had what it's supposed to go like, even
Mhm.
though I didn't think it was a legitimate. I mean, I was technically speeding, but I was passing somebody on a road where you're allowed to pass. So I passed legally and safely, but as you're passing, you
Yep.
you
Yep.
accelerate to go around the person. And the car coming from the other direction in the other lane was a police officer that was driving with his speedometer, whatever, his radar on. Well, so technically for half a second as I'm passing the car, yes. But anyways, I was so careful for that entire interaction to make sure what I said and what I did was an example to my nephew for how a police interaction can and should go. And afterwards, I used it as a teaching opportunity.
Mhm.
I said, "This is not bad. I don't like it. I got a ticket, but this is how it can go. This is how it should go. This is how it ought to go. It doesn't have to be scary. This is what you do. This is what you say. This is why." And that was worth getting the ticket. And
Mhm.
how often
Mhm.
people end up making things so much worse for themselves because nobody taught them that, or because they're letting their emotions get the best of them.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
crazy. And
Yeah.
so that is another great way for the local law enforcement to connect with the community. And I love that you shared that they did it, that they're doing it in a fun and humorous way, you know? Like they don't
Yeah.
they're not just sitting there on the side of the road with the aviators like, "I'm gonna get you." I
Mhm.
mean, maybe they are, but, I would imagine most police officers became officers because they wanted to help the community or, I would hope maybe that changes over time, but I
Uh,
like that.
you saying that with the aviators made me think of, have you ever seen the movie Super Troopers?
Oh, yeah. Classic.
I wish that police officers could pull people over in pairs. So, I would pay money to be in the midst of police officers playing the meow game just one time in my life. That would be
Absolutely.
hilarious. I'd play right
So
along.
I wanna this is, spur of the moment here. I wanna show, um, that kinda goes along with that. Now, Joe, I'm sure you've seen these re I guess, the reader boards that now in the Atlanta area, I remember when they installed them the year before the Olympics, so around the mid-90s, they installed these reader boards, which initially were just gonna be a reader board over the highway to say whether there was an accident
Oh, yeah,
ahead
yeah, yeah.
or something
Mhm.
like that, like the ones where they can put the different wording.
Yeah, click it or ticket,
Yeah. So some 5 years ago, or I don't know, every now and then driving in the Atlanta area, I would notice they would put sometimes like kind of catchy, clever little phrase about buckling up or not driving drunk. Some of them would be really funny. And I remember thinking, whoever's in the office that's like got like 2 or 3 lines of text to type a little, thing makes me, they're getting the point across, but they're doing it in a funny way. Well, I wanted to see if I could pull a couple of these up. Apparently, whoever that was has done that in other cities too. So these are not necessarily from Atlanta, but here are a couple examples. No
That's
Valentine, your
hilarious.
seatbelt will hold you. I
That's
love that.
hilarious.
He sees you when you're speeding. Slow down.
I love it.
Autocorrect does not work on crashes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Buckle up. Windshields hurt.
That's so fun
Drinking and driving go together like peas and guac. What? I don't know.
because they don't go together.
Yeah, I got that. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, okay, sorry. I
Turkey
thought you
says, buckle, buckle.
I love it.
And how about only witches fly high, drive sober?
Nice.
Very
So, I
nice. Very nice.
somebody is, getting I wonder if they pay somebody to be that creative or if they just luck out, you know what I mean?
Well, just now as you were sharing and doing a quick search, they're from all over the country, different cities. So I don't know. Do they share a network or is it like church reader boards? Some of the funny ones.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, which on a,
Okay.
on a side note, one of my many, many projects that will never come to fruition is I want to spend 2 or 3 months one summer driving around the Bible Belt, taking photographs of these country churches with the awful puns on their
Yes.
church reader board signs, which to this day, I doubt anybody's ever read one of those and been like, that's so true. That's really clever. I'm going to church on Sunday. Maybe, but I want to make a like a big color, like coffee table book with all the
Oh, that would be
because
so
some of them are
fun.
really funny.
Okay,
Some of them are really
this
funny.
is gonna be our first open tabs publication, is gonna be,
Yes.
church reader boards. I don't know how we get approval to do that without getting in trouble for taking a picture of their church sign and then putting it in a book making fun of them, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll
Maybe we'll just
contact,
blur the name.
our legal counsel and make sure that it's on the up
Yeah,
and up.
yeah. I'll talk to the lawyers about that. All right. So, Billy, what's your open tab for today?
You know, for any of those that all of our 3 are in the audience, in a previous episode, I was mentioning the storage unit. The storage
Mhm,
unit
mhm.
went from 35 a month to 95 a month to 189 a month. Well, I got all the stuff out of it. Now, phase 2 of this thing is getting rid of it. Facebook Marketplace to the rescue, and it's been cool. For anyone who's used that before, it's nice, it's helpful. I like it much better than Craigslist, so on and so forth. Well, there have been some, first of all, I got to throw this out there. People ask, and I don't want to put anyone down. Yeah, I do. I want to put some people down. People ask dumb questions. Like I'm good about making the title and a description that is concise. I'm not going on and on. I'm not copying, pasting anything, but it says what it is, and this is how much it is, and so on and so forth. And this is the general part of town I'm in, and you can come pick it up. And da, 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 da. I got one guy. I'm selling a fan, like a
Mhm,
big fan, like a
mhm.
20-inch, fan that sits on the floor, industrial garage fan, 20-inch. And his question to me was, "How big is it?" Well, it's 20 inches. The title says 20-inch industrial fan. Yep, 20 inches. That's how big it is. He says, "Okay, would it fit in a Honda Accord?" I said, "Well, that depends on how full your Honda Accord is. Is your trunk empty, 20% full, 50% full, 100% full? The current capacity of your trunk uh, is the way to answer this question." So
Yeah.
we go through all, and he ended up buying the thing.
Oh, he
But I'm
did?
like, what is go? So I get these. And then, of course, if you guys have ever done this before, I get for some of these items 20 people back to back to say, "Is this item available? Do you still have it?" "Yes, I sure do." That's it.
Yeah.
Nothing else. Crickets. Or maybe we will make a deal. And
Mhm.
then that's it. What
Oh, yeah.
happened? What
And they're
happened?
gone.
I don't go on. But I did have a pretty cool experience, interaction a few days ago. So, and I've got random stuff for sale. Uh, During my phase, we all go through phases, minor, whatever. In case of the end of the world, I decided to buy a bunch of supplies because I'm going to stick around and see how it goes. So one of the things I was selling was 6 cases of MREs, military or
Oh.
meals ready to eat. This is something I've been fascinated by since I was a little kid. And so it wasn't just for that part of it. It was because I really like them. I like the idea of this crazy technology of making food like shelf stable for years and decades. And I watch YouTube channels where people get these, and I get them from different countries and I try them. But anyways, I had 6 cases. I have 6 cases unopened of MREs that I paid for, and I'm just trying to, get rid of them. And I get a message from a guy that says, "Would you consider donating these to a Christian Boy Scout troop?" And he wanted 1 case. And there's 12 meals in a case. I mean, if you've never seen these, it's a meal, but inside the pouch is like an entree and 2 or 3 sides, and usually like a beverage base and a coffee, and now FRE or FRH rather, which is flameless ration heater, so you can heat up your main course without an actual flame. It's a chemical reaction. They're cool, and they taste very much like more normal than they should for what it
Mm.
is. Okay.
Mhm, mhm.
And so, um, long story short, I said, "Yeah, man, like I would love to do this. And how big is your Boy Scout troop?" I said, "I got 6 cases for you." So we're arranging. because his Boy Scout troop is going to go to some sort of convention thing in Dahlonega, and they're learning about this kind of very thing. And he's going to be able to have an MRE for every Boy Scout because I'm giving him 6 cases of these. And then I said, I got all excited because we know some of the same people on Facebook, and I said, I have some other goodies for you. And so this is just sitting. I didn't even plan for this, but this is sitting here. This is an example. I have a bunch of these. So that the flameless ration heater, the technology, it's just a chemical, and you add water, and then the
Mhm.
thing gets hot and it heats up your food.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
it's science. I don't know. These are like the same idea that I bought a bunch of these. And the cup is not the point. You could do this in any container. So there's no food in this, but there's a packet of the chemical. And so this tumbler has this, like, in the bottom, the packet goes, a little bit of water, and then that chemical reaction heats it up. And then in the top part of the tumbler is your soup or your beverage or
Oh,
whatever. And
cool.
so, and I got a bunch of these because they're so cool. So, I'm taking a little trip to Cleveland, Georgia, and we're gonna hook up the Boy Scout troop so they can check out the MREs, and some of them are pretty freaking delicious. I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
That's exciting. Well,
Yeah,
save one back for me. That sounds fun.
absolutely.
You know what? I've never tried an MRE. I've always wanted to.
I still have
Uh,
plenty. I'll bring some.
okay. Yeah. We should do that, like an on-air, like, cuisine experience, like we did
I
with the
I can
peanut
I
butter
can
and
show you
mayonnaise
some.
sandwich.
I can show you some that you would most likely love, and I could show you some that are a little bit weird, and some of them are good, but they have an aftertaste. I mean, the science that has to go into making certain things shelf stable
Yeah.
is wild. I'll give you a quick example. There's one particular type of food that the US military boys and girls over the years and decades always requested, and it was so hard for the companies and the scientists and so forth to figure it out, and that is pizza. They wanted to have a slice of pizza
Yep. I can
that
imagine
could
that.
come in an MRE. And, well, what makes that so difficult? Well, part of it is the cheese. How do you have shelf stable cheese? And when I say shelf stable, not just like sitting on your in your pantry, I mean it can be 120 degrees, it can be frozen
Mhm.
back and
Mhm.
forth over the years, and it's got to look like food, and it's got to taste like food, and it's got to actually give you your sustenance. And so they tried and tried and tried, and they'd have a pizza that it would be okay for 6 months, but then it would mold. It wouldn't make it long enough. Or they figure it out, but then it would, by the time a year came up, it was still edible and safe to eat, but it was like dark brown or whatever.
Mm,
And they
mhm.
finally perfected it. And it looks, and I have a few in the other room, it looks just like the pizza from elementary school, like a rectangle with the
Mhm,
little
mhm,
chunks of pepperoni.
mhm.
And I'm telling you, I have tried it myself. You cannot melt the cheese. You see the cheese on it and it looks and tastes like cheese, but whatever they've done to it, it will burn before it melts. It will not
Oh.
melt, and it tastes pretty okay. So you can have your slice of pepperoni pizza, but that had decades of research that went
Oh,
into
I'm
it.
sure.
So it's amazing. It's a niche that some people geek out on, and I
Yeah,
like
no,
that.
I get that completely. And I've actually watched those videos of, like, where they have, like, a Turkish soldier and a US soldier compare their, ready-to-eat meals, or an Italian. And some of these, like, some of these, like, I think it was the Italian one where it came in, like, one of those metal tin setups, like an Indian
Mhm.
metal tin setup, and it was, like, 10 or 12 different things, like, you know soft cheese and a cracker and
Yeah.
all this stuff. And I'm like, how is that shelf stable? Like, smoked herring or whatever.
Yeah.
And I, you know, I don't know if I could do that. I don't know if I like canned fish except for tuna that much, but the idea of it's really interesting. A lot like, I don't know if you remember when you were a kid, the idea of astronaut ice cream or
Yes.
freeze dried ice cream.
Yes.
Uh, we were just at the Tellus Museum. I saw that. And I almost bought some because I was like, "Man, this is all I always wanted this as a kid." But then I wanted to buy it for all of my children, and it was too much money, so I was not going to do that. But But there's something about, uh, you know, this idea of a meal that can be in your cupboard forever and not go bad. Because even like we keep canned goods and, certain things in a pantry down in the basement in case, a tornado comes or something like that. But all of that goes bad eventually, and we got to
Yeah,
get rid of it and put something else, like we got to use it up or throw it out and get something different. So
yeah.
the idea of something that will last through like a nuclear holocaust or the end of the world is really interesting to me.
And, I keep one. I keep an MRE in my car,
Mm,
at all times. Not that I'm out in the middle of nowhere, but even in a metro city like Atlanta, we had the snowpocalypse not that
mhm,
many years
mhm.
ago, and people were stranded on the highway and had to walk, or you're stuck there for hours and hours and hours. And even in that situation, I mean, you're not going to die, you're not going to go hungry, but it sure would be nice, you know, especially if you could
Yeah.
have and it's no big deal. In the trunk, have one or two of these MREs. You can buy them online or you can get them from your local surplus store,
Mm.
army surplus store. And now the technology is good enough that you can have a nice warm meal, have a couple bottled waters in there too, have an instant coffee or have a another sort of a juice mix, kind of like a Gatorade type of thing. And they're not half bad. They're not half bad. So
Yeah.
and
I
I do
mean,
like
it's not
every now and then,
Michelin star or anything, but hey, man, you're going to eat
yeah,
and you're going
and
to be full because it's like all the calories you need for an entire day, I think, in one of those
yeah,
things. So
and I've tried them. I like to try them from other countries when I get my hands on them. I have a few from other. The best one I ever tried was Russian. The Russian
interesting.
MRE was fantastic. I'm like, it had like a pate and all this stuff. I mean, it was fantastic. So, a lot of science and technology. And if you have kids or teenagers or Boy Scouts, that's fun too. Like go
It's a fun thing
camping
to
or just
try.
go
Yeah.
take a 2 hour hike. And instead of pulling out, Mom made us sandwiches, you pull out a
Mhm.
military MRE and they're like, what? It's
Yeah,
fun.
that's a good idea. That's a good idea. I think I might do that. That's
Yeah.
fun. All right. Well, we got a word from our sponsor.
Wait, we have another sponsor?
Yeah, every week, man.
This
They're
is
just
crazy.
rolling
We're
in.
going to be rich.
Yeah, I think it's you get one sponsor, then they all just start coming in. They all want to be a part of the show. I get it.
I get it. I get it.
Today's sponsor is the guy who asks at the end of every meeting, "Are there any more questions?" That's right, the fun and engaging workplace game that can be enjoyed by everyone or some people. Why end a meeting on time when you can extend meetings almost indefinitely by continuing to ask attendees if they have any other questions? Whether you're bored and you don't have enough work to do, or you just love making 90% of the meeting attendees devolve into seething hatred and madness, asking if there are any other questions for the 15th time is sure to do it. Hey, don't be worried that you won't get one more question, because honestly, there's always going to be Janice who will be asking you a question you've already answered twice as if it's never been asked before. So, in case you're concerned, don't forget about any more questions. Second cousin, is there anything else? This dynamic duo is sure to make every meeting go over by at least 15 minutes. And that is, are there any more
Woo!
questions?
Are there any more questions? Okay, no. Is there anything else?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
oh, there is.
We we have all been in this meeting. I know I sure I was in this meeting today. I literally there we have, every week we have those meetings, and we every now and again we'll invite a guest in and they'll explain something, and you get an "Are there any more questions" guy without fail, and it's our own fault because we keep asking questions whenever he says, "Are there any more questions?" Just
Right.
shut up. Be like, "No,
Gosh.
there are no more questions. We'll email you if we need to ask any other questions. Goodbye." You
We have a
know?
guy, and he's done this for years. I don't know. I don't think it's on purpose, but I'm telling you, he is sitting there trying to think of a question to ask in these bigger, larger group meetings, not because he's even curious, but because he wants to toot his horn and and we're just ready. We're like, okay, he's going to ask at least 2 or 3 questions back to back. He's not even listening to the answer, but he just wants to like hear his own voice on the meeting. Come on, buddy. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. You know those guys, and it's It's no fun.
But it's not always bad, because we do appreciate our sponsorship. This is what
We
keeps us
do. We
going.
appreciate.
So
Yep.
so so big thanks to the sponsor that we're waiting on your check in the mail
Yeah. Any day now.
any
Anytime.
day.
All right. So here's a fun one for the 90s kids, the millennials. I'm going to ask you a few questions. You can share a fond memory, or we can talk through the mysterious disappearance of these icons.
Okay.
So, um, when did you realize that you could not just go somewhere to rent a movie anymore?
Wow. There was a time, and I remember exactly where I was living, and I want to say it was around the year 2004 to 2005, I think. There was a time when there was still a gap. There was
Mm-hmm.
still Blockbuster, brick and mortar stores, and Netflix just came out.
Mm-hmm.
And Blockbuster then came out with their version of Netflix. And
Yes.
their
Yes.
their whole sales pitch was, why just have mail order DVDs when you can have
Mm-hmm.
mail order or in-person DVDs, and you had both, and the mail order and the still having the local store. So there was this overlap for a period of time. And then and it was so convenient to just get them in the mail, and
And
especially in a
then take
metro
them back
city,
to
it
Blockbuster.
was fast. It was like you ordered it early enough in the day, it came the next day, and then suddenly you couldn't go to the store anymore.
Yeah.
And I think it took a while to kind of be like, "Well, I kind of miss that." There was a ritual to it, wasn't there? There was a ritual of going and browsing and seeing the other people and their date maybe, and seeing, for a new release, you had the entire wall, and they were
Mm-hmm.
still out of
Mm-hmm.
them. And there was a whole thing to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the era, probably the best era, is that exact era when you could get your Blockbuster DVDs in the mail, you could return them to the store, you didn't have to go remember to put them in your mailbox, and you got like 3 or 4 rentals in the store per month. And so it was like you could have your cake and eat it too. And it was a little bit more than Netflix, but sure, why not? Like I got free rentals from the store. That's like free gold, you know? And there's something about walking into a Blockbuster too, because it always smelled like popped popcorn.
Yes.
I don't. You couldn't buy popped popcorn there, so they must have just been popping it in the back. Uh, but I loved it. It always smelled like popcorn. You could always find a movie, and what I loved about it is that nowadays there's so much available, right? But
Yep.
back then, when you had less choices, you might walk past a movie and be like, "No, I didn't know there was a sequel to that movie." And then
Yep.
you'd go buy the sequel and you'd be utterly disappointed, but there was this thing where you could literally leave the house and not know what you were going to watch and find something, find a gem or find some. And there are movies that I found at Blockbuster that I was like, I would never have watched for any other reason. But just looking at the movie jacket and being like, "Oh, that looks pretty good,"
Yep. And here's the thing, you did not have access to pull out your phone and look at reviews and
Mm-hmm.
and critics. You didn't have access to do that. The only thing you had access to do was ask the person next to you that was shopping, or ask the person who worked there, which just about every Blockbuster employee was like a movie nerd and could tell you
Mm-hmm.
some sort
Mm-hmm.
of personal review. But that's all you had to go on, other than reading the back of the thing, or, whatever. And so it was more of a surprise a lot of times. It was more of a gamble. Whereas now, how often do we go, well, I don't know. Before I go waste my 20 minutes and give up on this movie, let me go read the critics. And even if you watch it and enjoy it, you're going into it with some sort of
Mm-hmm.
preconceived thing,
Mm-hmm.
So a
Or
very
even
different
like
time.
just being able to watch the trailer to a movie right now.
Yeah.
Like any movie ever made, if there was a trailer for it, because there are certainly movies that didn't have them, but if there's a trailer for it, you could go find it right this second, and you could decide if you wanted to watch that movie by watching the trailer right now. Just I'm going to go on Netflix, or I'm going to go on YouTube, if nothing else, and I'm going to watch a trailer of any movie and know exactly what it's about.
You could also, if you remember this, I don't know if we ever did. If we might have done it once for certain you could rent at Blockbuster an entire VCR.
Oh, yes, I do
Like,
remember that.
and it looked like a heavy suitcase, briefcase thing
Mhm,
with a
mhm.
handle. You could rent the whole
Yeah.
20-pound VCR thing if you didn't have one, if yours broke.
Yep.
So you could rent that, but then it was like, even if the rental for a regular movie wasn't that much, man, look out for the fees. We don't have this now. We don't,
Oh,
which
yeah,
is
unless you
great,
forget
but
to return a library book.
yeah,
But
I
even then, like,
suppose,
a library book is not the same. Like, a
yeah,
movie
like
late fee is, like, the amount of the rental every day until you return it.
right. So you've got that, and there were fees for not rewinding back
Oh,
when there
yeah,
was
yeah.
VHS. So I remember there would be Friday nights where I'd be like, man, I really want to go get a movie, but I know I got like $20 in back
Yep,
fees
mhm,
I
yep.
owe. Dang
And
it.
it used to be that there were more than one movie place. Like, you go to a Hollywood or a Blockbuster.
Yeah.
So if you didn't have enough cash to pay off your fees, you could go over to Hollywood where you never went, so you didn't ever have any fees there. I remember having the choice between, like, a local one and then Hollywood Video and Blockbuster. So believe it or not, like, people who are not our age are thinking, like, you had more than one of these? Yeah, we had, like,
This is
chains.
what you did.
Yeah.
This was your, if you didn't see it in the theater, this was your alternative. That was
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That was it. You wait till it came out on tape.
I really sorry, excuse me. I really do miss I don't know, just the nostalgia of all of that. And it was a fun date night activity. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like, you go have a little dinner, you go to the movie store, kind of walk around, figure out what movie you're going to watch, you get your movie, you go back to the house, snuggle up on the couch and you watch a movie.
yes.
I mean, I my when my wife and I, so this was, we still had a Blockbuster in our neighborhood in 2006, and we had the whole shaboodle thing, the big membership thing, and that's what we would do. That right down the street from our apartment, there was a Blockbuster, so we would have dinner, we'd go out and grab something to eat, and then we'd go to the Blockbuster, we'd look around, we'd find something we wanted, and then we'd go home and we watch it, and it was just a great night. It gave you a little something extra to do. Though it did get hard eventually because it was like, well, now they don't have anything and we've seen all these. And so we just need to wait for our next movies to come.
Sure.
All
But
right. So
at that
go
point, if
ahead.
you paid for it, you were going to watch it and finish it. Whereas now,
Oh,
man,
yeah. Just
I
turn
don't
it
watch
off.
much I don't watch much, but there are times, kind of like we talked about recently with trying to find a restaurant to get delivery from and then eventually giving up, not getting anything. I'll start 5 different movies and
Mm-hmm.
like, meh, and then I was like, "Oh, I'm not gonna watch anything."
Yeah. It's funny. I watch shows. I'm a big show watcher, binge watcher, or whatever. But there are nights when I'm just so burned out of watching TV. Like, I'm just so burnt over, like, taking in that. And so I literally will just turn off the TV and go to sleep now. That's the world we're getting into. Like, we're so inundated with entertainment that eventually you just like, oh, whatever. All right, here's another one. When's the last time you paid for a ringtone?
Oh my gosh. Golly, that's before smartphones, I think.
Yeah.
Before smartphones. Nokia, well, I learned this week it's not Nokia, it's Nokia. I'm gonna say there's a girl from Finland that was trying to correct it. It's not Nokia, it's Nokia. I can't say it now, either way. Before
Yeah.
smartphones, and it would be 99 cents, and you'd get some cool, like, it's like an 8-second clip of the latest
Hmm.
song that was out on the charts or something like that. Now, my ringtones, if I even take the time to change it from default, is some funny recording of the person, like I've
Oh, yeah,
got my
yeah.
sister singing in her beautiful sister singing voice. That's her ringtone because I recorded her and then so yeah, 99 cents for a freaking ringtone for 8 seconds. Those knuckleheads. How about you, Joe?
Well, okay. So I have a very special use case. Apparently, I just found out you can still buy ringtones in the ringtone store for Apple. So with Android, I never had to buy ringtones because you could always just record it and then turn it into your ringtone. And so if I wanted to have a cool ringtone on my phone, I would just go find that sound effect somewhere, and then I would record it and turn it into my ringtone. But
Is
with
that not
Apple,
how it works for
you can't do that with an
people?
iPhone.
You people?
You can't do that with an iPhone. So
Of course not. Of course
you
not.
can still go and buy ringtones. And I have not, I mean, it comes preloaded with like 50 or something. But I have a auditory processing issue where there are certain times that I cannot hear certain sounds. And also, if a sound plays enough times significantly, I can actually completely ignore that sound for the rest of my life.
Forever. It is like seared.
Yeah, my brain will start it actually does it slowly. I will slowly, the sound will diminish as I'm hearing it. It could be the same volume, all that stuff, but the volume in my head that I process that sound diminishes over time.
This is neuroplasticity. This is your brain making new pathways around said noise.
Around noise it doesn't like or somehow have subconsciously said to ignore.
Yeah,
so
Mama used to say, "You have selective hearing. You only hear what you want to hear." Maybe, I don't know.
no,
Maybe there was
so
some
I
truth to that.
I do have selective hearing, but it's not by choice.
Right. So
that's
then,
what I
are
keep
you still
telling
held?
people
Are you
anyway.
still held to?
I
is it still
am,
your fault?
yes, and that's why I had to start buying ringtones, because I all the Apple ones that I can like put on my phone that don't like take a billion years are now like done to me. They're dead to me, and I start to ignore them, and so I have to have specific ringtones. Now, it's not like I can tell my phone is ringing, right? If my phone rings or whatever. But a lot of times it has to do with text messages, and a text message sound for me can drown out pretty quickly. Like within 6 months, I can kill a text message sound.
That's why you have the one the last time we went to dinner is like that loud, obnoxious horn.
Yeah, so I finally got rid of that one because now I'm in a sales job and I can't have that going off while I'm in a meeting with a client. And so now I have one that's annoying but not unprofessionally so. But that is the reason I change my ringtones so frequently.
Sure, there's a method to the madness.
Yeah, so I have paid. Over the past 6 months, I've paid about $4 for ringtones.
Sheesh.
Yeah,
Apple.
All right, phone books,
like the yellow pages.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've used them for things other than their intended purposes over the years, but I don't know if I've ever actually. I mean, maybe. Gosh,
come
maybe
on, you've
long
looked up
time
something
ago.
in a phone book before, right?
Yeah, looking up like a mechanic or something before. Yeah, long time ago.
I remember when I was little, you could look up your friends' houses in phone books in the white pages. You could I got to go find my buddy's number, and you could go open the white pages. If they lived in your city, you could find their number right there. So I had
and you
had
to pay extra if you wanted to be unlisted. Otherwise, by default, you're in there. Yep,
exactly. But I used to use it to look at, you just like Google. Oh, I need a plumber. I need a this. I need that. You could open it up and look at that.
And fun fact for our younger generation who's not familiar with the phone books and the yellow pages. Back then, this was like for a lot of industries, like an electrician, a plumber, mechanic, this was like the first source or maybe the largest source of new customers, new prospects was flipping through. And so not only did they spend more money to get a larger ad, a larger chunk of real estate in the yellow pages each edition, and you could even buy a full page to hopefully get more customers, but it was in alphabetical order.
Exactly.
And so if there was a lot of businesses, plumbers, electricians, whatever it is, you wanted to be early on the list. So you had A+ plumber, then you had AA plumber, then you had AAA plumber. You wanted to be the first in the list. And
Yep.
so there's still remnants of that now, even though it's no longer necessary
Yeah.
to have a business name that starts with the letter A or B. But that's where it started, is
Yeah.
from the freaking phone book and the alphabetical order of those businesses.
And if you look at like AAA or like Auto Club, or like if you look at like anything named A1
Yes.
or 123 or A to Z, a lot of times if you go back to the original owner, why did you name it this? They're gonna be like, so I'd be first in the phone book.
100%.
Like that. That is exactly why. Yeah, they
Yep.
would do that. All right. This one's not on the list, but Billy, what was I wish that there was some sort of archive out there that we could find that would have this. Uh did you have a MySpace?
Yes. Of course. Who didn't? Who didn't? Let's see if it's still there.
There's no way.
There's got it's well, if I never took it down.
Well,
If
no, because they evolved to being like a musician thing.
it's got to be.
My
Yeah.
my MySpace was so cool. What the thing about so for those younger viewers, MySpace wasn't just social media. It's definitely like the very first social media platform you could get. But it was also it took some like you could be really creative if you learned a little bit of HTML. You could end up with a MySpace that was pretty killer.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
I,
this was like the first because Facebook when it first came out was just for college students. Like you had to have a I think either a college
like a
email
edu.
address or
Yeah,
something
you
like
had an
that.
edu address. Yep.
Yeah, and then they eventually opened it to all people, but MySpace was the
Well,
first
MySpace was even
main
before
one.
that. So, well, I don't know. MySpace, I had a MySpace in like 99, maybe 2000. And I didn't get a Facebook account until 2006, probably. So, like, I remember having a MySpace in high school. So it might have even been like, yeah, 98, 99, something like that.
Golly.
Isn't that crazy?
What did you have AOL? We had AOL before
Oh, I
that.
totally had AOL. So, again, younger viewers, AOL is often referred to as dial up internet. So when you had to actually your computer plugged in with a phone cable and it had this little thing called a modem, and the modem would create a portal to the World Wide Web through the phone line, and then
Just hearing you explain it.
and then instead of connecting wirelessly to a Wi-Fi router that was connected through your cable line or through satellite, you were connecting wired through a phone line, which some people still do, but through a modem. It was not high speed. I mean, this is why the term high speed exists, because we had a speed before high speed internet, just called internet.
Just called what speed is it? Internet. Oh,
And we
dang.
had 24 kilobits per second and 56 kilobits per second, or 50 something, and then 98 or 96 kilobits per second. And now if you think about what you typically have in your house is it was 100 gigabit internet, right? Or 200 or 500, 600, whatever you have.
Yeah.
So like 1,000 kilobytes are in a gigabyte, right? So think about like it's a million times faster now than it was, almost seemingly. But yeah, I remember that you've got mail, like come on, or like the that just the AOL chat rooms, man. That was a big deal.
That
That
was a
was
big deal.
that was before MySpace. That was before all that. The chat rooms were interesting.
Before we so we got our first computer secondhand from my uncle, and we this is before AOL, just before AOL, and it had a modem, 56K modem, and we had one phone line. Well, I think we had two phone lines, one for talking and then one for my stepdad's fax machine for his business at home. And so I could plug into that. But what do you do with it if there's no you don't just plug into the internet. And we didn't have what we now think of as an ISP to get you onto the internet. So we had a modem and we dialed what we would call a BBS. A BBS is a bulletin board system. And so I would put in a phone number and a local one, so you didn't pay long distance of the same area code. And then this would dial for my modem to another modem someplace in that same area code and connect to another computer. And some of these BBS only had one available line. So one person could be connected to their computer. Maybe some of them had 2 or 3. And if they had 2 or 3 available lines, that's where you could connect to their computer and 1 or 2 other people would connect at the same time. And you could have a live chat with 1 or 2 other people because all 3 of you are on the same computer at the same guy's house. And they even had some basic games where you could play. And that was the very first. That was the very beginning of it. And it was just whatever that guy designed. It could just be a forum to talk and share stuff, or it could be little basic live chats and stuff. And that was like my first interaction. I'm like, this computer can talk to another human? This is cool. Before email, before any of that. Yep.
That had to be like mid-90s, right? Like
Yeah.
early mid-90s. Yeah. That's crazy. I remember getting into, like, as I got into college, I got introduced to LAN parties,
Yep.
and
Yep.
this was
Yep.
super cool. If you had
LAN
a
without the
D
D.
yeah, LAN, LAN parties, local area network parties. And if you had a good enough computer, you could load what we now call an instance, but you could load Counter-Strike on your computer. Then you could hook up, didn't have to be connected to the internet. You would hook up to uh, a switch box, a network switch box, so that all of your network traffic was shared in this one switch box. And so then you could be doing what we do now on countless other games, Fortnite, Call of Duty, all those. You could play with people, but they had to be in the same room with you or in the same building, I guess, if your network cables were long enough.
Mm.
And that would be, and then even when Microsoft Xbox was, of course, one of the very first ones that came out with where you could do that with multiple Xboxes. And so when I was a youth pastor early on, we actually had in our youth room, we had 4 Xboxes that we had hooked up to a network switch so that all the kids could hop on these old crappy TVs and play Halo multiplayer against each other. But yeah, I mean, that was gaming back then, and sure was a lot of fun. You didn't have nearly as much reach, but you also it was pretty safe, right? Because you couldn't be gaming with somebody you didn't know because they were in your house, right next to you.
So I have something to share
Uh-oh.
on this last little bit of this segment.
Hang on, I gotta move back to my so I can see it. You did
It's
not
the
find your
original.
MySpace page.
Yeah, this original one. I don't see any pictures on it, or videos. There's my name, connections, people.
Oh, whoa! Check that out.
But there's still people on there. There's still people on there. People
How
that
did you
I
find it?
recognize their names. I don't know, songs, albums. Yeah, it turned into more of a music thing, right?
Yeah.
Um, would that be cool if there were some photos or something? Oh, there's some pictures. Look at that. There's still some on there. Or those are the actual connections. I still have 6 I still have 6 friends. There's my buddy Jared.
Oh,
Look at that. That's my cousin Jennifer's tattoo. There's that's my cousin Jennifer. See, that still exists. Look at that.
that's crazy. Now I got to go see if my MySpace still exists. I bet it doesn't, though.
Oh my gosh.
I don't even
Amazing.
remember what my MySpace username was. How did you remember what yours was?
I used the same thing for everything back then. Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
I wonder. Oh, I bet I know what it is. Is that it? No, I never knew how to spell anything, so who knows what my MySpace username was. But my MySpace page was the bomb. I loved it. It was so good. All right. Well, I think that wraps up today's episode. We're at an hour. Holy cow. Well, guys, this has been fun. This has been real. I'd even say it's been real fun. Thanks so much for joining us tonight on the Open Tabs podcast. I forgot where it was for a minute. We're excited. This is episode 7, and we are going to sign off for the night.